Hello, Assalamu alaikum, and welcome to all panelists and attendees to the CXO Watchtower Firesides with CISOs today. So our theme for today is the challenge hit list and how CISOs will fare in 2021. And our discussion for today will be based around a white paper that's been generated by CXO Media, which will be garnering insights from seasoned industry experts like people we have here on the panel today in the field of information security. So I'd like to formally welcome all of our panelists for today, Mr. Jawad Mirza, CISO Askari Bank, Mr. Javed Jabbar, CISO SAMBA Bank, Mr. Muhammad Maad, CISO Faisal Bank, and Syed Fahd Azam, CISO Meezan Bank. So the whole premise of this was that, information security practitioners are under enormous pressure, obviously with everything that's going on around in the world. We need to ensure that technology systems and security systems within organizations run safely and smoothly and scale on demand as seamlessly as possible, despite obviously the turbulent events of the previous year. So we're here to learn how cybersecurity leaders like yourself would adapt and face what may be, the most difficult and challenging year this year and perhaps maybe the next year with the after effects of it. So we'll start with a deep dive into the response to COVID and challenges faced by the IS department. So once we start with your introduction, if you could take a look into how you would say cybersecurity leaders' priorities have shifted since last year, focusing on enhanced security and fortifying cybersecurity strategies through comprehensive risk assessment. So Jawad, if we could start with you.
This is Jawad Khalid Mirza. I have approximately 18 years of experience in cybersecurity domain. Currently with Askari Bank as Chief Information Security Officer. I used to serve with Allied Bank, MCB Bank, Zari Tarqiati Bank, Ufone on branchless banking project and Zari Ministry of Interior as well. It's a brief whole span of 18 years. Currently, I am with heading CISO Forum. Cybersecurity Forum at Pakistan Banking Association level and co-founder of CISO Forum as well.
How would you say cybersecurity leaders' priorities have shifted since last year, focusing on, of course, enhanced security and fortifying cybersecurity strategies through comprehensive risk assessments?
I think it's an introduction still going on. I think
we'll take this question to each one of you.
Okay, sure. I think after this pandemic, whole situation paddled up everywhere. Beside all this, digital transformation paddled up at huge pace. E-commerce, you are buying from online, e-shopping, everything. Beside this, our role as a security shops become very important and critical. And due to this, we feel a huge amount of pressure on our shoulders to keep the business running and to support them in these difficult times.
So Javed, if we could hear from you on a little bit about yourself and then talking about how your priorities have shifted in the last 1 year.
I'm Javed Jabbar, having around 20 years of experience. Most of it is the information security field. I've worked in several banks and the telecom sector as well. So this is my introduction. As far as your question is concerned, well, in my opinion, there has been a dramatic shift because of this COVID-19 situation. Because in fact, the COVID-19 has pushed all the industries, including the banking industries, to change the way the work has been going on, to change the shift from conventional to the new technological era. So because of this shift, the people going from the office to their home and doing the work, accessing the services, accessing the data. So all of this thing has really, put pressure on information security, as Jawad has already said. And because of this pressure, there has been an enormous change in the information security priority as well. So now our focus is towards how to safeguard the data, the services, and ensure that the people who are doing work from home can safely and securely access these services and data which are residing in the premises of the bank. So this is my sort of a high-level view about your question.
Thank you. Maad, we'll move towards you.
Thank you very much. My name is Maad. Been in the industry for I think around 30, 31 years now. I have backgrounds in core IT. Then I did some teaching in a couple of institutes. Then moved into consulting for a while, and then finally I'm in the present status of the Chief Information Security Officer. I thought it was it's going to be breeze with whatever I was doing because I thought IT was tough, but I think I was pretty much wrong because information security is a bit of a different ball game for me. Anyway, from the COVID and the security challenges, I think much has been said. The only difference I have seen or I've witnessed between what we were doing prior to COVID-19 and post COVID-19 was that the territory and the boundaries of the organization have actually gone beyond the bricks and mortars of the bank. Now my systems are no more residing in a behind the firewall. They are being accessed by different people, vendors, consultants, staff, whoever wants to use that. They're doing it in their car, they're doing it in their home, and we have to think slightly different from a control perspective, how to make sure that the environment remains safe. Our job is not to hinder the business or support the business in any way. I believe that my job is to make sure that the risk is managed to the extent the organization allows it, and then whatever facilities that can be offered and extended to our business or our customers, that is done within that mind frame. So that's my answer to the question.
Thank you. Thank you. Fahd, over to you.
Thank you. My name is Syed Azam. I'm overall experience of around 15 years, and I've been with Meezan for quite a while now. But prior to working with Meezan, I have worked experience with HBL in the IT compliance, and MCB. I used to work in the subsidiary Mnet, and prior to that, I have worked with Park Suzuki as well. So I have worked in different capacities in various organizations, and have been part in different panel discussions, and served as a participated in different organizations related to different cybersecurity security initiatives. With respect to your question, in real terms, cybersecurity has just started, because prior to that, our scopes were we had boundaries. But like Maad Sab said, now the scope has widened up. And if we can say, the real cybersecurity has just started, where we have to work beyond our boundaries, beyond our imaginations. And the other thing I would say is that apart from risk assessments and other things, we need to give confidence as well to the end users, because we are not only the organization is digitizing, the entire nation is getting digitized now. Like a couple of years ago, we don't used to do e-commerce transactions, but now everyone is doing it. Couple of years ago, we don't used to give mobile handsets to our children, but now whole day they are doing the classes through Zoom and WhatsApp. So things have changed. So things are very challenging and getting interesting day by day.
So I think just to quickly summarize what all of you have said, the way the enterprise has grown, and it's also, it's gone beyond the brick and mortar, it's gone beyond a physical structure. The enterprise is now everywhere. People have devices everywhere, and you all are responsible within your own enterprise to really make sure that there's a seamless experience, as well as there's no downtime, and they're also secure. So even though your understanding of security may be different, however, to make the people who are responsible for really driving this within the organization, their understanding may be completely different. We also here have with us Mr. Ashraf Khan, the Commtel partner for the event today. So if you'd just like to say a few words before we...
My name is Ashraf Khan. I'm in the industry for like 20 years, heading this company called Commtel. From a security perspective, we've worked with almost every customer you can find in Pakistan when it comes to security. So I think it's a very interesting discussion, and if you look at how things have, I think things have changed a lot in terms of expectations. I mean, if you look at the management now, when we go in executive meetings, the expectations are different, which were there a year ago. And in terms of even expectations of the users of the bank, it could be the client or the internal user, the expectations have changed as well. Another thing I think which we have seen in the industry is the acceptability of working from home and remote access, which was a big no long time ago. I mean, all the panelists over here, they're very experienced and they can vouch on that they have seen a lot of transition in terms of how the management has perceived security in the past. And I think the importance of security has grown a lot with every passing time, and especially in these times as well.
So on that note, I'd like all of you to now take the conversation towards, because each one of you mentioned that you have to consider credential management, you have to instill that strong sense of security awareness throughout the enterprise. How do you, in the position that you are, stay ahead of the curve on cutting edge technologies that can support hybrid, open source environments, ransomware and other malicious, code protection requirements? With new approaches and skills, because as security cybersecurity technologies are advancing, so are the phishing attacks. So how do you really, keep up with the game?
Can I just kick off on that? I beg to disagree on your point that we are staying ahead of the curve. I think we are actually falling behind, maybe 2 or 3 blocks behind whatever is happening in the industry at this point of time. So whatever technology that is coming in, whatever threats that are coming in, whenever we are encountered with that, we tend to focus and ascertain the remediating controls and the technologies that are out there. And perhaps most of the times these are not there, unfortunately, because uh, because of the need of the demand, the customers require these technologies to be brought in, and a lot of R&D that used to happen, perhaps that is not there at this point of time. I'm not suggesting that people are, pushing their products without any proper testing, but just an off the cuff kind of opinion that I have is that people are just pushing the products back to the customers, and then we're realizing there are 0-day vulnerabilities within that. And because of these 0 days, we do not have the manpower, the skill, unfortunately, to perform a detailed research and development on these kind of products. Somebody else has to do. But by the time we get to know about these problems and these issues, the control is not there, and perhaps the organizations have gone and faced some sort of losses already. So I mean, it's a catch-up situation for all of us, and I think the best answer is that we should be geared and be agile in adapting to something that is out there, but be wary of the threats that are linked with any kind of new technology.
Jawad, would you like to add something to this?
Yes, I second to Maad Saab on actually it's a pretty conducive in getting complex day by day. We are heading, now there's no more traditional data centers. We are now talking about cloud journey. Or cloud in cloud we have hybrid model on fully cloud model. There are many things which are coming up, which are scaling up. The thing is, on the other side, business is growing at different enormous pace. But the thing is, we have to realize security. We have to inbuild security, just like Matsab said, we have to build security controls on agile fashion. No, it's no more traditionally you deal with these kind of threats. You have to be agile, you have to be swift, you have to be, now top management has to see now security is much more important. It's in the fabric of, business enablement. Without security, you can't go and just launch anything. I think with this complexity, our jobs is getting much more prominency, as well as we are getting much more stressed day by day.
Javed sir.
Yeah. Well, from my opinion, it's a cat and mouse game, and mouse is always ahead of the cat. So the hackers are always ahead of the security guys. Whatever you do, they are always one step ahead. So this is the rule of the game, and you have to live with it. See, basically, in my opinion, you need to see beyond the technology part. information security is not just a technology aspect or technology part that you need to secure. You need to secure the people as well. And as far as the phishing attacks are concerned, which you have pointed out, the phishing attacks are done to victimize the people. So there is a great need that we need to work on the people side and make them aware of the phishing attacks and how to counter those attacks. And because if you miss that part and whatever control you have put in the technological part, you can't do anything. Because if the person who has the access is compromised and that person becomes the channel through which the attack has been activated, so you can't catch anything, you can't catch anyone, you can't stop the actual attack. So you need to focus and work on the people aspect as well. Yes, technology is important. There are a lot of technological controls that are coming out, and as Maad and Jawad has already pointed out, that the technology is coming with a very fast pace, and so getting cope up with that pace and buying those technology and putting all those technology inside your organization is a very big challenge, because you need to see the return on investment, and you need to see the budget as well, because you have a limited budget in which you have to play. So this is my overall opinion, that with technology you need to focus on people as well.
Absolutely, and I think one part which also Maad Sahib had said, that sath you have to sort of keep training and that's why we were talking about how if there were any internal awareness programs that were run in terms of cybersecurity, because right now, as you all said, the enterprise is all over. It's in everyone's houses. It's in
Yes,
everyone's
yes.
devices.
Yes.
Yes. Also, basically, you tackle the people part from the security program, and the more comprehensive security program you have, the better you will mitigate the risk related to the people being compromised.
Strong security
Fahd
program
Sahib, if
requires
there's
strong
Yes.
sponsorship as well.
Fahd Sahib, if you'd like to add something to this
Yeah,
before I.
what I would like to add is like the session we are having it. We used to have this on-prem face-to-face. Though in the similar fashion, our awareness program has converted in this manner as well. We are doing this through Zoom sessions and through different means. So all of us has adopted, like Math Savat said, agility. So it's not only on the review and the assessment part, but on the awareness part as well. We are adopting different means. It may not be the curve technology ahead thing kind of a thing. Maybe from what we have adopted from those sending SMSs, sending more email awareness messages, and then having Zoom sessions with the end users, those who are having work from access. The other thing what I like was the stress part. It is getting very stressful because when we say our work hours is 9 to 1, it's not 9 to 1, it's not 9 to 6. It's sometimes more than 24
24/7.
by 7.
It's around the
Yeah.
clock.
It's more than round the clock. Even when you are sleeping, you are dreaming about it. So
Fahd, I'll just chip in one thing. Now 24 hours are somehow not enough. You know. So,
yeah, maybe one life is not enough. So
yeah.
so that is very important. Maybe the S part in the CISO is stress. So uh, maybe when we think a lot and lot about our systems and everything, we should think about our health as well. And one of the major concerns when we are securing our information asset is to secure our staff as well. Because if we don't have our staff, who will going to secure those assets?
Two, three themes that I've picked up from here is, of course, one is on collaboration also. You did mention that now you have to work more closely, and pehle to ek hi hoga na ki there was like one information message which goes out to the entire workforce, but now with the distributed workforce, you might be working more closely with, say, the CHRO to design those policies for work from home or for a hybrid model. and of course working with the CTOs and the CIOs. So how do you, you need to be constantly thinking about what tools you will be needed to help the technology workforce collaborate safely this year perhaps as well, because it doesn't look very different from what we had last year. But of course, keeping an eye towards facilitating innovation while working in a hybrid environment and keeping that safeguard the enterprise also. So on that note, if I could get your thoughts.
I think collaboration was already there. I mean, it never died because we as cybersecurity people, we cannot work in isolation, and just make sure that the risks are managed or whatever. So this coordination and this collaboration has actually increased many folds. Now, I'll give you my example. In my organization, we have a very strict and tight governance framework. Now, whenever a new initiative, a new requirement that pops out, it has to be reviewed, and I'm one of the primary stakeholders that provides a go no go kind of decision on those initiatives. So if I say no, of course people can still do it, because at the end of the day I'm not business, I'm not representing business, I'm a control function. But my opinion matters in the organization, and people do listen to that. Yep, the tools and the services that are out there, we want to adopt those, but adoption is a bit tricky part, because we want to make sure that we don't bring something in. I'll give the example of Zoom. Once this pandemic started, everybody started using Zoom, and the versions that were in use at that time had serious kind of vulnerabilities, and people actually deployed that into their core infrastructure, into the internal corporate networks. What happened is that there were a lot of breaches, there were a lot of compromises that happened around the world. Fortunately, not in Pakistan, but we didn't want it to do that. So we relied on our existing channels, and once the Zoom was stable and it was widely accepted, tested, then we allowed Zoom to be brought in. So yes, uh, the adoption of new technology is the way forward, and of course, innovation cannot be stopped. But you know, from a cybersecurity standpoint, we just have to be wary of the threats that we are bringing in with those new technologies.
Jawad sir, you were saying something before.
Yes, actually, Maad sahab rightly said collaboration is not new, but now these days in these pandemic days and post-pandemic era, we tend to have more reliant on these Zoom, WebEx, and stuff like that. Beyond this, we have the technology support from technology is there. Uh, in past, technology was there and is there and will be there. But the thing is, earlier that security controls were not designed to be utilized like that. But now we have the security technology support as well. We have to gauge our endpoints where they are working. We have to control them. Now we have the support. But the thing is, how much smart you are with your management to get those budgets and to get those stuff with you,
Yeah.
and to get them realize that these are the need of time. And if you become agile and you have to become much more innovative, work from home, you are saving capital opex costs on the real estate side. You have to build something on these kind of stuff as well. No technology support is available. We are doing this. We have erected multi-factor platform, secure DNS platform. Means you have the technology support. Now the thing is how much agile you are and how much proactive you are with your environment.
So, Javed sir, before we move on to your response to this, I'd also like you to talk a little bit about how you've had to work more closely with the other C-suite members as well. So whether it's the CHRO, whether it's the digital officer or the IT officer. So how does that also come into shape when you're designing something like this?
First of all, I'd like to share some view on the previous activity that was going on. Uh, well, as far as the collaboration is concerned, yes, like my friends have already said, and they have rightly said, that collaboration was there. And because of this pandemic, that collaboration has definitely increased among the CISOs. As far as the collaboration between the teams is concerned, yes, there has been a challenge. Technology is there, like Jawad has said, and we have already deployed the technology. But the problem is the acceptability. That how do the people accept that technology of collaboration, and how they will use to collaborate more effectively and efficiently. So this is the challenge that is being faced not just by us, but I believe everyone is facing the same challenge. And when we are talking with the C levels like CIOs, CTOs, and CHROs, and we are addressing the issues of the people and how the people can collaborate effectively and efficiently with each other, and how they can do their work from off-site more efficiently. So these are the challenges that we put in front of them. That are you going to address these kind of challenges? And how are you going to ensure that the people who are working from off-site are giving the complete work hours that are required from them? And are they equipped with the things that are required from them? Like, for example, do they have the necessary laptops or the desktop machines at their home? Do they have any reliable internet connection? Do they have a reliable power connection? So that they can give their maximum output to the company while working from home. So these are the things that are now being discussed, and how to cope up with the pandemic, and how to empower the people to do their day-to-day activities, day-to-day their operations more effectively and efficiently. Like, for example, with the introduction of the third wave that has come up, again the pressure has come up on the organization to ensure the 50% reduction in their manpower, and send that manpower to the home to do the work from home. So with that thing, we again need to come up with a more strong strategies, more strong controls, more strong programs to ensure that the peoples are empowered and doing the work from home more efficiently. So this is my point of view.
Ji Fatsa, we'll move on to your
Yeah,
response.
the remote capability was always there, but it was serving a very limited or maybe the niche within your organization, a small segment within the organization, the administrators or the executives. They used to get those remote connectivities, but now things have scaled up. And the other aspect, when you say that we have to liaison with the other C-suites, yes, we have to, because uh, when you are facilitating the work from home, it's not like every user has the same requirements. You have to serve them differently. You may be serving your treasury differently, your operations differently, and your IT differently. So we need to liaison and collaborate more and more with the HR heads, the CROs, how to serve them, because we cannot serve them equally, and controls for each of them is different. uh, this is one thing, one aspect of it. The other is we have to collaborate for different reasons as well, for the budgets as well, because from one aspect of work from home is that you are saving your OPEX through electricity and other things. But on the other hand, to control it, you will be needing other uh, devices and assets. So if it's equal, then what's the use of it? So it's very challenging in those aspects.
So I gather that, based on all the comments, that you are now more and more involved in the people management also. Initially, maybe your role was more defined to just the cybersecurity on a larger, say, horizon within the enterprise, but now you're directly involved with, obviously, with the
Yes.
distributed
Like
workforce.
if one thing I can add as well, we are discussing the pandemic right now, the COVID-19, and we are like provisioning work from home with respect to COVID-19. But what about the range of Karachi? We
Mhm.
have like given remote access to the user who can work from they can do their work from home. But if it's rain in Karachi, there will be no electricity, there will be no connectivity. How he will going to connect? So it's we have to think very differently and like holistically as well.
So I think in terms of, everyone kept
And
saying that,
monsoon season
Pakistanis are
is
resilient,
coming.
Pakistanis are this. Yeah, but there was,
Then,
we kept
then
getting
you
tested at every level in the
then you
last,
have
I
to
think, 1 year.
on
And
your
I think
work
it's,
for home mode. Fahad, then you on your work for home mode.
No, it's other way around. Office from home from office. We have to like stay here only.
No, I think if I can, just add what Fahad has just said. I mean, he actually brought up a very peculiar situation. Pandemic is one thing, and we were all, first of all, taken back because of the intensity and sheer magnitude. But then, of course, we gradually learn what to do about it. But calamities of different nature, and maybe these are regional, maybe these are pan Pakistan. Those, I mean, this is typically a BCP aspect, but we as cybersecurity professionals are also required to help the organizations to go around this. What to do when this work from home fails because of absence of electricity? So, I mean, that is one of the things. I know that in my organization, the senior executives have been provided with alternate means of energy, so to speak, the generators at home. But I mean, the availability of those people would not really complete the whole process. So this is something that we need to use, or this particular example or analogy, to think out of the box. What to do in those circumstances? I think it's a very valid.
so I think with COVID, everyone had to sort of expand and look at all areas of what they can do and how they can do it. But it's just the challenges kept coming on. So as Fahd Saab said, we were just sort of settled in after the effects of the pandemic, and then Karachi floods happened. So there was always something that was topping the previous challenge. And I think to really as I was saying earlier on, how do you stay ahead of the curve? And you rightly said that sometimes we're just barely catching up to it.
Aksar, this is one additional point I had just thought of it, that banking is a very instrument based process. So every kind of transaction that flows has to have a sort of a paper instrument, and state banks laws and regulations really determine that. But we have seen a gradual shift from that paper instrument based thing to digital transactions. And unless and until that happens, this work from home and this pandemic really will not be successful, because for authorizing a particular kind of transaction, let's take the trade documents. If a particular bank has to approve an LC, a letter of credit, the set of documents that have to be signed off like this thick. I don't know whoever worked in operations. I did, so I know that these thick document, just one letter of credit, so that have to be signed, and that cannot be signed at home, because these documents are available inside the bank's organization. So we had to really tailor our business processes to go around this problem. What to do is a digital signature, or maybe an email stating that I authorize these transactions suffice. For that, we had to take opinions from state bank. So a lot of work was done. It's not just about technology. It's the platform is people, process, and technology. Somebody mentioned, I think Javed mentioned a lot about the people part, but the process part was also important. How to bring this technology into the existing process, and how to tailor that process to accommodate people working from their homes. So that was it. I'm sorry.
Thank you. I think that was a really important point and a very interesting perspective for us also to really learn from. First, आपने एक दो चीजें जो बोली, I really want to pick up on those. One is, of course, we will come to the budget side because re-examining budgets has always been a concern when it comes to cybersecurity. And unfortunately, in organization, it's mostly response based. Okay, God forbid एक cyber attack हुआ है, उसके बाद then they will, in a response, another bank or another institution will then pick up or bunk up their technology stack. However, many organizations are now obviously taking a closer look and looking at, cost of collaboration tools, cost of remote working, consider bringing in some cloud-based security systems in-house. What does it look like for all of you? And as Maad Saab already said, you are also an industry which is regulated. So unke challenges alag honge. So we're not really going to the regulation side of things, but if I can hear from you on how you have to re-examine your budgets and work around those.
Yeah. Sorry, please go ahead.
Not sorry, please.
No, I want you to
It
go
becomes
ahead.
easier for me. Please you do it.
Okay. Now, I think budgets are, relative, and I don't see a problem with the budgets. Of course, every organization has its own challenges. But as far as we are concerned, we have been advised that, budgets would not be any constraints if there are serious cyber threats or serious security concerns within the organization. So if there is something that we need to do, even our board, ratifies everything when I, submit a proposal. And they know I don't ask for redundancies. I only ask for things that are really important for us. Yep. So that's how it is. However, utilizing those budgets and bringing an appropriate technology within the organization, that's still a challenge for us because somebody mentioned in the very early times in this session that the availability of skill set. Uh, Availability of skill set is there, but availability of resources who possess that skill set is unfortunately very scarce. And
Big
I
challenge.
think it's been 3 years. I'm trying to fill up my entire org chart, and every year the audit comes in and tells me that your org chart is not complete and why you have these open positions. So I'm pretty sure all the other cybersecurity functions in other banks are going through that. So because of these problems, these budgets, even if they are available to us, I mean, they make no sense. And unfortunately, I mean, no disrespect to the business partners and vendors, the level of support that I actually expect from my vendors and my business partners, I mean, that's not there, unfortunately. Perhaps the scarcity of people and scarcity of resources is hitting them as well. So
Yes.
one of the particular vendor, I asked for a particular resource, and he says, "I'm sorry, this person is traveling to Islamabad, and 3 days after he's going to be in Lahore, and then perhaps after 2 weeks he would be available for your work." And I said, "My work is round right now, so I cannot wait for 2 weeks. I have to find somebody else." So so that is the kind of concerns we have in terms of availability of resources.
Ji Fahd, over to you.
Ani rightly pointed out, budget is something which gets managed somehow or the other, and all of the CISOs are quite smart on it because we have risk assessments and other things to support us. But this resource
Abhi,
thing
take a
is
lesson from you. आपसे
sure
ट्यूशन लेनी पड़ेगी मुझे.
whenever you want. So, but this resource part is very important one because I guess the pool is common. There is one only the resource pool is there, but घूम फिर के वही रिसोर्स आ रही होती है चाहे वो माद साहब के पास हो या मेरे पास हो तो और फिर वहाँ पे budget constraint and all that things occur. We need to generate or increase that resource pool. Maybe with you have those ACCA trainings and CA के आपके पास होते हैं articleship वगैरह होते हैं. Maybe in those similar terms हमें भी यहाँ पे शुरू करना होगा कि जो security professionals हैं उनको भी इस तरह का करें क्योंकि it's very hard and with security it's not just ethical hacking or the domain is wide. हम ये समझ लेते हैं कि CH कर लिया हो गया नहीं. We need people in different domains within information security. There is IS governance, there is pen testing, there is other aspects as well. The architecture
Application
is aspect as well.
security, SOC area is too much, carrying
So
too much depth as well.
Yes, it's quite wide. But unfortunately, हम एक दो करते हैं थोड़ा सा LinkedIn profile में डाल देते हैं and then we become a cybersecurity expert. So
Yes.
हमें as a society I think थोड़ा सा यहाँ पे बढ़ाना होगा within information security भी domains में वहाँ पे increase करने होंगे.
We have to have benchmarks as well. आपकी बात बिल्कुल ठीक है, Fahd, that person, my subordinate used to work somewhere and then later on he find another job, and now it says I'm the cybersecurity expert in the financial industry domain. And I said I don't call myself an expert because I'm still learning. So we have to have benchmarks. when when somebody says that I'm a novice, and fine, novice can be anyone, but if I'm a cybersecurity professional with an intermediate level, then what that intermediate level really is. So those standards and benchmarks unfortunately don't exist in our industry, unfortunately.
I believe my friends have already talked and pointed out every issue in this domain. Yes, as far as the budget is concerned, as such, there is no budget constraint or budget issue. Budget is there, but the utilization is the issue, and pointing the right resources is the issue, and then putting that resource into work, and especially retaining that resource is a very big challenge nowadays, because as my other friends have pointed out, that resources are scarce, and because of that, they are tend to move from one place to another place very quickly. So by the time you have invested the time, and the the tree has now started to give the fruit. So the fruit actually is put in someone else lab, and you just can't do anything. You then again now standing at a point zero, and finding the right resource, and then training that resource, and you know addressing your problem. So that's the issue throughout the industry. Resource challenges are there, but as far as the budget I believe is not that much of a big problem. See, like I have already mentioned in the beginning, that the pandemic has shifted all of the things. In fact, the pandemic has changed the thinking of the management as well. Now the management is more focused towards technology, more focused towards security. So now we have more cooperation from the management as compared to the era that was prior to the COVID. So this is my view.
Thank you. I think rightfully said, and I think this is something that we've heard from all, CIOs and CISOs and CTOs, that otherwise all the technology implementations that they wanted to run within their organizations, they had more challenges or more roadblocks within the organization. However, COVID obviously has accelerated that because of keeping up with business needs. One last thing that I would like to talk about when we on one of the points that you had mentioned was that obviously maintenance of 24/7 uptime, and as Fahd said, it's more than around the clock. You just have to be available, or you just have to be sort of on your toes, thinking about it. So after a year, filled with uncertainty, where people are demanding like greater stability in terms of systems they rely on, and wohi baat hai that none of you will get 100% points for like any uptime, or any CIO, any CTO. They won't get those brownie points for being for enabling that environment, for being 100% available. But of course, anything that puts the business in a position where there may be a trust compromise with customers, that is something that may fall on your head. How do you, of course, being in the position that you are, tackle that, and what's your approach in terms of enterprises having to rely on these systems more than ever in this year and the next?
So let me contribute over here. It's a thin line. Availability is a CIO's part. CTO's part. Once it comes to the availability, that hurts with respect to any cyber security threat or something, that we come to play that role, for the availability part. It's a mix. CIOs and CTOs they have to ensure 99.99 in something availability of the IT processes, IT systems, and stuff like that. And we have to ensure that there would be no cyber attack, there would be no cyber thing to hamper that availability, right? This is a thin line between two functions. Main availability rests with the CIO or CTO part, and other part lies with us.
But securing that is on you.
Yes. Securing that is on our part. We have to have, today we have evening over here, but in West there would be in morning or something. We have to function. We have Pakistanis all around. We have to serve them, whatever region they may be. In the morning, we have witnessed West is the night. transactions are going on every time, e-commerce, Amazon, eBay, everything. But we have to, our channels are working 24/7. Our ATMs are working, POS are working. Then the huge responsibility on operation side might be, it could be IT operations, it could be security operations. They are 24/7 awake.
I think Jawad has identified really tricky things that we deal with that. I just want to clarify a bit availability. When we say availability, something is a platform availability or maybe the system availability. That's typically with IT, the CIO or the CTO.
Yes.
Our job is to make sure that the information that is required is available whenever it is needed. So there, how to juggle between this availability and the protection from cyber threats. There are two things that we do. Number one, we design and implement controls that are effective to combat or circumvent any kind of threats that are in there, and we have robust security monitoring over there. So with these two functions, designing and implementing controls and monitoring of the security controls so that there is no breach or there is no compromise. I mean that's our function. And unfortunately, like we mentioned before, the non-availability or scarcity of resources that is hurting in both of these areas. So we have to, take a gamble many times because of pressures from the regulator, pressures from the line or business management, that the controls that we are putting in, if there are no standard controls that are required to be there, then a slight compromise or maybe a slight oversight on the controls effectiveness, that's going to be there. At the same time, the use cases that we do or we built into our security control monitoring frameworks, those perhaps are not updated in a timely manner. Again, because of the scarcity of the resources. So this is a particular situation that happens everywhere. And I can safely say that no organization in this country or perhaps the world is free from that. There is always a lag in it. But coming to answer your question, there are only two things that we need to do: designing and implementation of controls and security control monitoring. If that is done, then our job is done for availability and other factors as well.
So one thing that I want to add, that as far as the availability 24/7 is concerned, uh, yes, in terms of availability of services is concerned, it is the part of the CIO and CTOs, and ensuring that availability is there and it's not hampered because of the cyber attacks. It is our job being the chief information security officers. So yes, as the point that I want to put forth is that uh, as far as the COVID situation is concerned, the availability has no direct relationship to that. Uh, the availability demand was there before the COVID. The availability demand is now as well, and the availability demand will increase in the future as well. So whether the COVID is there or not, the availability demand will increase because now the people are more relying on these services. And as Jawad has mentioned, that as far as the banking industry is concerned, banking industry is offering services 24/7. We have customers across the globe, and sometime the customer sitting in Western is trying to get the services. It's when it is a night time in Pakistan, and sometimes the customers in Pakistan is trying to get the service when it's a daytime in Pakistan. So we need to have 24/7 services, and in fact, as far as the service infrastructure is concerned, or the services maturity is concerned, it was already there before the COVID-19 era. So I don't see any much difference because of the COVID situation, that we have enhanced any services till the 24/7. It was there and it is there and it will be there.
Thank you. Thank you. Fahd, would you like to add something here?
Yeah, what I would like to add is that I would answer it only through the with respect to cybersecurity operations. And recently, has been a spike with respect to testing because new digital systems are getting onboarded, they are getting introduced within the infrastructure. So to introduce them, to get them live, we had to increase our shifts to get those things tested, because the agility aspect has increased. We have to now deliver quickly. It used to take time, days. Now it's take hours to deliver something. So for that, we not only need monitoring team with respect to 24/7, but increased shifts with respect to testing as well. And to do that, there are different aspects to do it, or different ways to do it. Maybe partnering up with the service providers. Ashar is here. They give services. So there are managed services. There are other services through which you can increase your manpower. So with this COVID thing or not, the digital aspect is there, and it's going on with a very high pace. Like I earlier said, we are not only the organization are getting digitized; it's the nation which is getting digitized. Transactions are now moving towards from branches to internet banking, mobile banking, and other ways. More and more fintechs are coming up. So you need the monitoring and the service part has increased, and for that we need to have round the clock monitoring teams and testing teams as well. Maybe testing team not for the 24/7, but at least for 2 shifts.
Thank you very much. My last question, and this will obviously go out to each one of you, is what was, if I were to ask you, what was the biggest accomplishment that you have achieved in the last 1 year, and what would be your highest priority in this year and the next?
My biggest
Yeah,
accomplishment was
yeah.
that I was able to keep my job, and the target for this year is to keep doing it. So
Yeah.
that's on a very light note. But well said,
That,
Fahd.
that's that's actually a tough one. That's actually a tough one. I'm not sure that was a lighter note, because I think that's given the circumstances that have been going around. I think
Yeah,
that has come as
and
a big challenge.
in fact, that's I'll go with Fahd, and
Yeah.
keeping alive is the biggest accomplishment and achievement. In fact, personally going through the COVID is different challenge, and yes, in these tough times, uh, keeping alive is the biggest accomplishment.
Yeah.
The
So
systems
I
and
think,
ourselves as well.
yeah. But I think, just for a serious answer, I
Yeah.
think one of the biggest accomplishments that at least I can be proud of is that we managed the pandemic from an operational perspective in the bank, and there was no major downtime. I would not say that was zero downtime, but there was no major downtime. The customers were not impacted, and the business processes kept on going without any kind of problems. We did deployed 3 major applications in the bank during that pandemic, with people working from offsite, and still there was no compromise on the quality of the products that were brought. So uh, it was difficult, it was different. We used to sit in one particular room and huddle around all the project, but with this pandemic, even though everybody was working from their home, we still had collaboration amongst the team, and it was sort of priceless. And I think the best example of that was the Roshan digital account that was deployed. When we were the first wave of the banks that was selected by State Bank to offer these services, and we were given a timeline of 4 days to bring up with an application plus a website through which the RDA customers, prospective customers abroad, can provide their information and their accounts can be opened. So it was a very tough challenge,
Very tough call.
bringing in
Yes,
the policies, the processes, the
technology as
technology
well.
part. Oh yes, it was phenomenal actually, and we
And
we actually did that in 4 days.
and especially
Amazing,
because
amazing job.
like some of you mentioned, of course, this is a regulated industry, so guidelines come in and you have to follow. There's no flexibility in certain areas, and to keep up with that in a very challenging environment, which no one was really prepared for when we're talking about the pandemic. So I think that in itself was a big achievement. If there's anyone else who would like to talk about their priorities for this year.
Saving a life is a big, takeaway for last year and this year.
Yeah.
This is my side. Rest is, this is the process.
Well, as far as the accomplishment is concerned, I also like to add that you have four CISOs from the banking industry sitting in this panel, and in fact, Pakistan banking industry is one of very few industry which has flourished in this tough time. And also, as far as the cyber attacks are concerned, although the cyber attacks has increased exponentially, but Alhamdulillah, by the grace of Allah, the banking industry has not experienced any major cyber attack in this tough time. So I believe this is the biggest accomplishment, and the credit goes to all the CISOs of the banking industries and the technology people of the banking industries who have helped the business people to enable doing the business in this tough time.
Thank you. I think that's it from my side. We did have some questions on collaboration and on CISOs meeting on different platforms. I think this is one of them. But if there's anyone else who'd like to add to this.
I think we have to hear from Ashraf bhai, and I think we are over. You touched everything.
Thank you. Thank you. So I'll hand it over to Ashraf Faisal Khan, CEO Commtel, and also partner for this.
First of all, thank you, everyone, Maad Saab, Javed bhai, Jawad, and Fahd. I think we have been in the industry for 20 years. I think it's very interesting perspective what everyone has shared, and if you look at everyone, I think we all echo towards a similar sort of accomplishment what they have achieved, right? And staying alive it's a big thing, because I've known people in the industry, banking industry, and other IT industry who have passed away, right? And there have been cases of COVID in a lot of banks as well. And if you look at banks, they have been operational throughout the pandemic. We as a partner, I think we know how difficult it has been, because we have been working with all our financial customers and other government customers as well to ensure that we can provide them the relevant services throughout those tough times as well. It's still tough times, but I think we have proven all together, the industry and the partners, that we are resilient. We have all worked hard towards it. Challenges are the same from our side, where we are sitting across the table. As Maad Saab mentioned, that HR is a big challenge. We feel on this side of the table, it's a very relevant discussion. And if you look at the global shortages of information security people, there's a downfall of 7 million people at the moment, and I think it's going to keep on increasing. So that's why we work on different technologies, and as Fahd mentioned, managed services is one way to go, where you bring in collaborations and work with partners to actually enhance your capability. Jawad rightly said, we have seen in some organization, I wouldn't say all, budgets is a very key component. There are at times difficulties in getting the buy-in, but I think times have changed. Security is given more preference as ever that we have seen in last 20 years. I mean, I don't think there were CISOs like 10 years ago at least, that I can recall as well. And if you look at the framework from the regulator, I think there has been more empowerment to the CISOs in terms of enabling them to actually work inside the organization as well. So it's a very interesting move from the regulator as well, which has helped the industry as well. Fahd, as mentioned, they have to work like double the time in terms of ensuring they can meet the business goals. As Maad said, they had a target to release an application in 4 days. I've never heard of such targets ever, and I think it's incredible how they have actually managed to come to that point where they've actually achieved all those goals. And Javed bhai, as he's already mentioned, that it's a mix. It's not just one thing. You have to look at different aspects, which could be people, process, or even in terms of technology. So I think from the vendor side, which is us, and from the financial sector, and those are our customers, I think both sides have evolved and come a long way in last 1.5 years. And I think collaboration has been great. I think we have understood, and I think we have understood more clearly. It's not just the technology the customer is looking at. It's different from that. It's the end goal, There are different problems at the customer side, which we actually at times don't look at. Because usually if you go in the industry, most of the companies, OEMs, they're looking at quarter to quarter sale, which I think is not the way the industry will move, and especially on the security domain. So that's a very brief from our side, that how we have looked at the industry and how the challenges happen.
Thank you, Ashraf. If there's anyone else who'd like to make a closing comment before we wrap this up.
No, I think everyone else summed it up pretty nicely. But I just want to say that the security, the cybersecurity paradigm, I mean, it's a journey, and I mean, it's going to evolve every day. So I'm still learning new things, and I'm not ashamed of saying that I've learned something new. So I think if we have this kind of mindset, then of course the ultimate goal of protecting our information assets in our organizations would not be as difficult as it seems to be.
Thank you very much. That, ladies and gentlemen, was the end of our session for today. Thank you to all our speakers and panelists and our partner Commtel for today's session. Just a parting thought, the whole technology C-suite, as we've learned today, will face more and more challenges in 2021, but we're hoping that this pandemic, and the changing and the learning that is brought to each one of us individually as well as collectively, it makes us focus on collaboration and how we are only going to be able to be in a position to provide more business value than ever before if technology and cybersecurity become more important in the enterprise architecture. That's it from our side. Thank you once again to all our panelists for today, and we'll wrap up now.
Thank you so much, all. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you for having me.
Allah Hafiz. Allah Hafiz.
Thank you.
Thank you. Allah Hafiz.